Good evening, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. Let's begin. First up, appeal of Bedford home invasion conviction centers on suitcase. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9, Ray Brewer.
Burst out the door. Burst out the door when it matters most. For more than a decade, he's been right there, everywhere. And when American jobs are on the line, he leads the charge. ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast, and we thank you.
That's correct, Aaron. The piece of evidence in question is a suitcase, but it's not about what was in it.
The prejudice of this evidence is that it showed that Normal was involved in substantial criminal activity.
The state never alleged that the suitcase contained items related to the Bedford home invasion, rather that it showed Normal was willing to destroy evidence. In arguing before the state Supreme Court, the state said the suitcase was a small part of a very large case, and it was not a key piece of evidence on which the trial turned.
The fact that this evidence was not of such an emotional or overwhelming nature that the jury would abandon reason and convict based solely on the fact that he instructed Fauscher to destroy a suitcase.
That point was echoed by one of the justices, who questioned even if the evidence of the suitcase was admitted in error, what difference would it have made?
Volume of evidence in this case, the nature of the evidence in this case, what difference does a suitcase make?
To which the defense replied, that's impossible to tell.
I think there's also concern if there's a reasonable doubt about whether the jury would have reached the same result had the error not occurred.
Normal was sentenced to a minimum of 67 years in prison. The state Supreme Court expected to issue its decision in a couple of months. Reporting live in Concord, Ray Brewer, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Construction worker killed in accident near elementary school. Police confirm. One person was killed in a construction accident during a asbestos project near an elementary school in Concord, police said. The incident occurred Tuesday afternoon near Willard Elementary School, which is located on Powered Mill Road. Police said the situation was reported to 911 operators around 1:47 p.m. Sky 5 flew over the area, which is located across the pedestrian path from the school building. Yellow crime scene tape surrounded the area, encircling a crane truck. A backhoe was also parked nearby. Officials have yet to release information about the nature of the fatal accident. Cumberland County Corrections officer arrested for trafficking drugs. Let's take a listen to the video from WMTW News 8 Maine.
They're both in remission, have the same pre-existing condition. But if Sean Moody becomes governor, they might not.
For this individual's name to come up, I was shocked. He was not on anyone's radar screen of being anything but a good corrections officer.
On Tuesday night, Davis Glazener was booked into the Cumberland County Jail, the same jail he's worked at for the last 2 years. Sheriff Kevin Joyce says a tip led them to search Glazener's South Portland home. Inside, they found cocaine.
I want to show our employees and the public that we can take care of business, and that just because you're an employee, you don't get any free passes.
Glazener was stripped of his equipment and put on administrative leave without pay. Sheriff Joyce says there's a possibility of more charges. Glazener was also transferred to the York County Jail, a move Sheriff Joyce said just makes sense.
To not put the other corrections officers, his previous co-workers, in a situation that's uncomfortable, and those are uncomfortable situations.
Sheriff Joyce says that this is still very much under investigation. Right now, they have no indication that any of those drugs were being trafficked inside the jail. In Portland, Lauren Bradley, WMTW News 8.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And now let's take a look at your U.S. stock market and see how your U.S. stock market closed for this Wednesday evening. And here's a look at that U.S. stock market. Your Dow Jones Industrial Average closed in the red and went down. Your Nasdaq closed in the red and went down. S&P 500 it closed in the red and went down. Gold closed in the red and went down. Oil closed in the red and went down. U.S. 10-year closed in the red and went down. Euro/USD closed in the green and went up. And VIX closed in the green and went up. Dow erases gains from the year, tumbles more than 600 points as stocks extended October swoon. Stocks plummeted on Wednesday as a sharp drop in tech shares and worries about corporate earnings added fuel to this month's steep pullback. What we know about the explosive and suspicious packages delivered in New York and D.C. Let's take a listen to the video from ABC News.
To now. So she tries new Listerine Ready tabs. She's chewing that tiny tab, which turns into a swish of liquid. She's swishing away, which feels a little like, what? Unleash the clean feel of Listerine. Anytime, anywhere. Sophie girl, you are ready. Introducing new Listerine Ready tabs. Bring out the bold.
What we saw here today was an effort to terrorize. This clearly is an act of terror attempting to undermine our free press and leaders of this country through acts of violence. I want to make very clear that the people of New York City will not be intimidated, that we are going to go about our lives undeterred, because the very concept of terrorism is to change us, and we will not allow that to happen. This is a very painful time in our nation. It's a time when people are feeling a lot of hatred in the air. And incidents like this exacerbate that pain and exacerbate that fear. We cannot let the acts of a very few change who we are. There are a few people. We don't know who they are today, but there are a few people trying to tear us apart through acts of violence. It is imperative that we ensure they fail. It is imperative that we act as the good and decent people that we are.
Okay, and there you go on that video of the press conference earlier today. Also, CNN evacuates studio after suspicious package. Let's watch that video clip.
Sophie's eating a tuna sandwich, and her meeting just got moved up to now. So she tries new Listerine Ready tabs. She's chewing that tiny tab, which turns into a swish of liquid. She's swishing away, which feels a little like, what? Unleash the clean feel of Listerine, anytime, anywhere. Sophie girl, you are ready. Introducing new Listerine Ready tabs. Bring out the bold.
And to have projectiles, I mean, excuse me, that sounds like a fire alarm here. We'll keep you posted on that. But to have projectiles, that is a feature you will often see in bombs that terrorists use in Afghanistan, elsewhere. ISIS has used that kind of bomb before. It doesn't mean it's exclusive just to those kinds of terrorist groups, but that is a significant development.
I'm going to jump in. There's
a
fire alarm
here. You might have heard it in the background. We're going to find out what the latest is
we'll
here
be right back.
at CNN. We're going to be right back.
Okay, as you saw, they got evacuated as well. CNN studios. A suspicious package was found in the CNN mailroom, Time Warner Studios. And all of our thoughts and prayers go to everyone that was involved in that evacuation today, and the Riley King Network send our thoughts and prayers to all the staff members at the CNN studios in New York City. They do a wonderful job covering the news, like I do, and I enjoy watching CNN very much. And that does it for the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another newscast. Good night, everyone. Bye.